Yeah, this is Bobby here, KM6IKH, hamradio1.com. We've sold probably about close to 70 of the rough spots and the X4s, slim spots, covert spots. And I will tell you, to date, not one single unit has failed. Hasn't skipped a beat. They all work perfect. On the other hand, it really depends upon the user. It's not the devices. They all work perfect. They're all tested. It's all good quality components and all customized for each and every client. Here's the problem we've been having. Of the maybe 3.5% of the people that had issues, here's what they didn't do. Are you ready? They didn't stop. They didn't read the instructions. They rushed into the unit and 9 times out of 10 created problems on the nice, clean, perfect Pi-Star image that I set up for them because they didn't do this. They didn't stop and they didn't read the instructions. I don't mean to belittle anybody, but it's been 100% consistent with the minuscule amount of people that haven't been able to get the units up and running. Second thing is, I guarantee the units will work just perfectly fine. Now, I'll give you 30 days to send it back if the unit is defective. The caveat is if the unit is defected. I actually took 3 back, had each one of the 3 up and running in about a minute and a half. Worked perfect. It's not a problem at all. So the units are great. There's no problem with the units. A lot of people don't know this, and I don't brag about it, but I've got a degree from MIT. So no, I haven't been a ham that long, and I haven't been building this units that long, but I have a degree from MIT. I kind of know what I'm doing with this stuff. I don't brag about it, but I do need to put it out there because people are just giving me grief. It's a very tiny, small, infinitesimal, minuscule amount, but they're having problems with their internet connections. They may have one of these. You see that unit? That unit does not like ham radio, does not like Raspberry Pis and Pi-Star. It's an older style, even though this one is new, it's an older style router. It does everything perfect. It'll bring Pi-Star up in the dashboard. Great. It doesn't like the pass digital information because it doesn't have the latest and greatest G feature in it. I personally don't care. I hardwire mine in if I have the Raspberry Pi 3. If you have a Raspberry Pi 3 board under your unit, do the same. It will work. Perfect. I also don't control the people that do this network. This is an Android phone, and nor do I have any affiliation or any relationship with people that have Apples. If you have a blockage someplace, somewhere between your cell phone and the Brandmeister network, has nothing to do whatsoever with these units I build because the units are fantastic. They just work. They work all the time. Here's what you'll see when you're hooked up correctly. And the units are pre-programmed to work correctly. So there you go. That's the little green icon. That means you're in Brandmeister. That means it will pass information, it will accept information, and it will work just perfectly. So first and foremost, read the instructions first. And I apologize, I don't want to belittle anybody, but the minuscule amount of people that have had problems didn't read the instructions. And I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about anybody's capacity to read, just didn't read. And this has been with people, some of them have been IT managers at these huge company networks. It's amazing, just didn't read anything. So it's just the individuals that are not reading or having the problems. Everybody that reads everything has maybe a question or two, if that, and they're up and running perfectly. Follow the simple startup procedure. The startup procedure is in the instructions. You fire the unit up. You give it 3 or 4 minutes to boot. You don't touch anything. You don't push the pickle on the radio. I've pre-programmed all these for you. I put all of the information that you gave me verbatim, copy-paste from the form I sent you to put into the radio after, or into the Pi-Star software after I've tested. I tested on this radio, the MD380, and I have tested the unit. I've spoken to 4, 5, 6 stations, made sure that the send receive is perfect, and it always is. Make sure the unit's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, and it always does. I'm certainly not going to put a unit in a box that doesn't work. Oh, I've never had one single failure because they all work. But if I did, I'm gonna put it in a box and send the parts back and get taken care of that way. But it just doesn't happen. I use good quality parts. So read the instructions. Be patient with the initial startup sequence. Don't bum rush these things. They just don't operate that way. Plug it in. Leave it alone. Take your hands off the computer. Take your hands off the device. And just let it boot. It takes 3.5 to 4 minutes. They work perfectly fine and at speed once they're up and running. When they're up and running correctly, which yours will run correctly if you follow the instructions, you'll see a fast blinking light and a solid green light. This is what they do. This one happens to have a screen on it. That's irrelevant to the behavior. This is the jumbo hat, and that's exactly what it will do first time and every single time. And when you have it up and running correctly, you will push the pickle. The 2 blue lights will come on. I'm in DMR mode. One is PTT. One is the DMR acknowledgement. Take your finger off the pickle, and you'll get a little hang time on one of the LEDs. And obviously, you take your finger off the pickle, that one will go out. And you'll see this one will go out in a minute as well. So that's it on that. Only one single internet connection active at a time. It's in the instructions. Read the instructions. It's in the instructions. You want to do that so you don't confuse the unit and you don't confuse yourself by having the unit jump onto one network while your computer that you're looking at trying to get Pi-Star is on another network. Like, say the unit went to your router because you told me that's how you want it programmed. I will program it the way you tell me. I follow the instructions, and then your computer is on the router and you'll say your unit is on a cell phone. Well, you're not going to be able to get the configuration screen in Pi-Star because the units are on 2 different networks, 2 entirely different internet gateways. So they're not going to see each other. So if your computer is, this unit is on your cell phone, make sure your computer is on the cell phone for the internet connection. If that unit is on one of these routers, and you have a better one than I have, and it will pass the internet information, make sure that this unit is also on that router. Otherwise, this unit and Pi-Star and your computer are not going to see each other. Again, this information and more is where it says stop. Read the instructions first. Again, I apologize. I don't want to belittle anybody. I'm not insulting anybody, but every single problem, every single one, has been a lack of doing this and reading my instructions first. There's also one other thing that came up today, and I realized exactly what it was. When you're using either an Android phone or an iPhone, which I don't use and don't have, make sure that your data is enabled. Data must be enabled. If your data is not enabled, you'll be able to make cell phone calls. You'll be able to receive cell phone calls. But if your data is not enabled, guess what? You won't be able to get on the network, which means you won't see the nice green icon on Brandmeister because your data is not enabled on your phone. Find the switch. Go to your internet provider. Don't ask your friend or family member that's the genius networking person. Obviously, they know nothing about what the problem is because it's right there. It's the phone. The data is not enabled. You'll be able to send and receive calls, but if the data is not enabled, you will not get that device to behave like you expect when you push the pickle on this device because that little icon will be red because your data is not enabled on that device. Okay, so it's very important to follow the instructions. Okay, next thing. Pi-Star dashboard is very easy to learn. Just take your time with it. I'm not going to try to give you a haircut over the video here. It's just going to waste time. Just go through it and be patient. Do not monkey with the settings. I had that happen a couple times this week. People got in. First thing they started doing on a perfectly good image that I set up for you, started jacking with the images and totally screwed their image up. I spent an hour on the phone on TeamView redoing everything that I'd already done and set up for you. So when you follow the instructions, it is a plug-and-play unit, exactly as advertised. Go to your Brandmeister self-care page, which I just showed you. If you don't have an account, go set it up. That will allow you to see the little green icon under self-care in Brandmeister to let you know that you're on the network. Simple stuff here. The simplicity and use of this hotspot is actually mind-blowingly simple. And if you follow the instructions, if you stop first, read. There's two big pages here. There's nothing to read. It's a 15-minute read if you read like 2 words at a time. It's that simple, but it's that important. Stop and read the instructions. You'll eliminate 99% of the reason that you'll need to call or contact me. I welcome the calls, and everybody knows I'm going to help you. I'll team view and get you out of a problem. But almost every problem has been self-imposed. Or data was not enabled on their device. And they thought everything was working because they were sending and receiving calls, but data was turned off. So I don't mean to, be a parrot and repeat myself, but the problems have all been the same. Not reading the instructions and data not enabled on their phone. Stick to my rule, please. Please. If it ain't broke, don't try fixing it. Just enjoy the functions. The machine is going to work. It's all tested here. Everything works perfect. I guarantee if the data is enabled here, you have this unit and your computer on the same network, either both on that device or both on this device. Well, I take it back. This device, you won't be able to pass digital signal. You'll need a newer router. I hardwire Cat5 cable into this router, and when I Cat5 into it, like on a Raspberry Pi 3B, like all the rugged spots are built on, works perfect. It's just a Wi-Fi thing. Although the Wi-Fi will communicate with your computer and it'll get you into the dashboard. This older unit is not liked by Raspberry Pi. It's just nature of the beast, and it won't pass the digital radio signal. So you put a Cat5 cable in and you're good to go. Do it all the time. This is a Raspberry Pi Raspberry Pi 0W. I don't have the option to do it here. Well, I do, but I'm not going to put all the adapters in and all that stuff. This unit does have a USB port in the bottom. Somewhere it's under here. There's a power port and a USB port. I can, in fact, dongle it in. I can do it. I can make it work. It's just not worth the effort, the hassle to do it. It really, really isn't. But if you want to know how, I have the technical expertise to explain it to you. I can tell you where to get the parts to do it, and it'll work perfect. It'll work perfect. So the summary and wrap up is, I've had nothing but 100% success stories with every single buyer that has stopped, read the 2 pages of instructions, followed them, have their data enabled on their phone, make sure that the phone, the device, and the computer are all on the same network connection, either both on the phone, both on the router, with the network, with the hotspot, and with the computer. That means all the dashboard's going to come up and everything's going to work marvelously perfect for you. And if you do that, what's going to happen is you are going to have a unit that is going to work perfect. You're not going to have any problems with it. It's going to function as designed, as programmed, and that is also providing that you gave me the correct information. The instructions, which are right here, stop, read the instructions, and the pre-roll instructions that I send you to get all your information, where I explain Raspberry Pi and Pi Star do not like special characters. Any special characters on your keyboard. It does not like spaces. They don't like hyphens. They don't really like underscores, although occasionally they can work. So you want to make sure that your SSID and your password are free of any special characters, which I explained to everybody up front. There we go. We're working. Radio's working just fine. By the way, the image that I have on this unit right now is the carbon copy image that I use on every single build here in the shack. They all start from this image. They're all solid. They're all tested. All the units are burned in. I have 3 different models. They're all burned in. They all work perfect. Haven't had a single failure, and I know that I won't. The Raspberry Pi boards, by the way, if you look in the dashboard, you'll see that they're made by Sony. Not a pretty company with a pretty good reputation. The Raspberry Pi hats that I use, they're made in China. Same place that every single Zoom, ZUM spot now available at HRO, according to my contacts anyways, at HRO, and I don't think these people would lie to me, told me that every single ZUM Zoom spot, and I'm not knocking them, by the way, I'm not saying this for any other reason, just to make a point, all the Zoom spots at HRO are made in China now. That's where the creator of the product is having them made. For the same reason, every single thing else in your house is made with products from China. That radio is full of Chinese products, regardless of the name. That phone has all Chinese electronics. This computer and any computer that exists is loaded with PCB boards and Chinese electronics. What do I have? A stack here of 4 different electronics here, all made with Japanese PCBs and components. So people, don't think I'm not bashing. I don't bash anyone else's products. It's just not how I roll. I'm just stating a fact. We live in and around Chinese PCB boards and electronics, or some other variant from Asia. It's a part of our life. That printer, that printer. I can show you that my little phone over here. That camera. Hey, these watches even have components. They're not electronic, but they have components from China. This little doodad right here, I'll guarantee my little 12-port USB port, I guarantee that that was 100% made, designed, and manufactured in China. It's just a part of life, and it's just where a lot of things come from. There's nothing wrong with that. Not knocking anything. All the Zoom spots are now manufactured in China. So what? They're just as good as quality as they would be manufactured anywhere else on the planet. So not bashing anybody. I'm not bashing any products. It's just we live around Asian electronics. So that's it. If you don't want Asian electronics, sell everything that takes power, and including your car that has all computers that run with Asian electronics. Most of them are from China. So anyways, I don't mean to beat a dead horse here, but I've team viewed myself for many hours this week on the same issues with people that didn't stop, relax, and read the instructions. Did not assure that the data was enabled on their phones. People that had the hotspots not going through the same network as the computer, so they weren't seeing each other. And it's the merry-go-round of issues, which should never be issues. Once again, not to beat the old proverbial dead horse, because they didn't read the instructions. And if anybody needs any help, I'm here to support you. Everybody knows that. And every single person, every single one, without exception, that has my hotspots, they know I support the product. But I just kind of getting a little tired of being a parrot and repeating myself because usually the first sentence I know if someone's read the instructions or not. Matter of fact, I know immediately when someone has not even picked up the instructions to read them. So you guys out there, if you buy any of the hotspots I have, I really appreciate your business. I really, really do. I thank you for the business. But if you're not going to read the instructions, probably maybe go buy an open spot or one of those $300 nano spots because you're going to have the same issues, by the way. it's always the same thing because they also come with instructions that you need to read. So anyways, with that said, it's Bobby here, KM6IKH. Just want to get this out there and make sure that everybody understands. Now, I know the people that read instructions are still listening to the video. The ones that stopped listening to the video and said, oh, yeah, those are the people that have been calling me with problems because they didn't read the instructions. There's no saying. How people do anything is how they do everything. So if you're the kind of person that understands the value and the supreme intelligence in reading instructions first, and you're patient, these little devices will work perfect for you. First time, every time. If this device is connected on the same interface as this device, And if your cell phone here has data enabled, I don't care if it's Android, I don't care who makes it, Hitachi, I don't care. The data must be enabled on the phone. I don't care what carrier has your phone, I don't care who makes the phone. Make sure the data is enabled. So if you do that, and you have one of these, you're going to have a very smooth road and a very, very, very enjoyable, pleasant experience with these hotspots. They perform like crazy, and bottom line, they work first time every time. With that said, says Bobby KM6IKH. I want to thank you all, and those that are still listening, those are the ones that should be grabbing these units, because you'll have a 100% success ratio with them, guaranteed. Thank you guys. Bye now.